What would you think if the owner of a brand follows you? You post something in your story about your disabilities, they see it and immediately unfollow you. I'm not saying that this person unfollowed me because of that, but maybe. I don't know. And it's hard because there's all these brands that pride themselves on inclusivity, body positivity, and all of that, but they draw the line at various different things. A lot of them draw the line at disability. And I don't like that. But I am aware that disability makes people uncomfortable. Either people who aren't disabled themselves because they don't want to see it, because it scares them, it makes them uncomfortable. Or I am also aware that there are other disabled people that are made uncomfortable by seeing disabled people who are worse than they are, even within the same condition. It is to the point where when I have gone out in public in the same exact outfit, but with a cane versus a wheelchair, I get treated differently with my wheelchair. I have gotten a lot of dirty looks where I live when I'm in my wheelchair. But as soon as I'm walking with my cane instead, those dirty looks go away. People are so uncomfortable, even with the word disability, that they get upset at other people calling themselves disabled. And I sometimes even run into issues on certain platforms if I write the word out properly. But for example, there's someone that I used to know who private messaged me for the first time ever in response to a story of mine years ago because I was calling myself disabled. My story was about my autism. This person took me calling myself disabled when talking about autism as a personal attack about their dyslexia, and went on about how they're not disabled and how dyslexia is a learning difference. Even though, again, I literally was only talking about autism. And personally, as someone who does have dyslexia too, which my post wasn't about, I would argue that dyslexia is a disability. And I won't go into stuff with that person, but their dyslexia very much disabled them too. But again, I wasn't even calling them disabled. And I wasn't even talking about the dyslexia. So that is how uncomfortable people can get around the word disability. And I'll see people saying things also like, if you talk about autism, they're like, no, it's a superpower, or oh, it's an advancement in society, or whatever. Or there are people who say that we have to call ourselves differently abled, and just all this stuff. And it's hard. Because there's all these people who are disabled who don't even feel comfortable considering themselves disabled, let alone other people calling themselves that. And then there's also, of course, able-bodied people who get uncomfortable with us. And the reality is, and I've been making videos about this, the reality is, most people are going to end up disabled at some point, and anyone can become disabled at any time. You can become disabled as soon as later today, if you aren't already. Some of us We're born that way. And that fact is another thing that makes people uncomfortable. And it's important to get past that, and instead of shoving that away and also taking that out on other disabled people, instead maybe try to dig into why that's making you uncomfortable. Another thing is, even within disability, there are certain disabilities that some people may be more comfortable with than others. And I know one that people really get uncomfortable with is myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is something that I have and something my wife has. People don't like that one, especially because that is one that can happen to anyone. And it is to the point where I have seen other people with ME saying that seeing content of people who are more severe than them makes them uncomfortable and they can't handle it. Which, within ME, anyone has the capability of becoming more severe. For me personally, things have fluctuated over time. I do not have the personal experience with very severe ME, but yeah. The other one that's very off-putting to people and they do not want to hear about it are just post-viral illnesses in general, especially related to COVID, but in general, I've noticed. Because that's another thing that can affect absolutely anyone. So people don't want to hear about it because it scares them. And I have seen some people admit to that, where they don't want to accept that they could potentially get long COVID themselves, so they just try to assume that other people are faking it for attention, or just shove it to the side and just tell themselves that they'll eat healthy enough and that they take supplements and that they go to the gym so many times a week so they'll be okay, only to end up with long COVID themselves. And there's some people that have long COVID who are still in denial that they don't even want to consider themselves having it, or will go back and forth considering whether or not they have it. And I know people personally like that, including someone who has been diagnosed with long COVID multiple times, including by UCSF. I want to make it clear that I have always been talking about disability on my public social media. Literally, I think either my very first post or one of my very first posts on public social media was not just about ballet, but my spina bifida. Because I can't remove the disability from me, and my spina bifida directly impacts my dancing. So that's just always been a part of my social media. And, you know, there's other times where, like, seeing me with a mobility aid or things like that, like, I can't just remove that from me. There's other people that can hide it more, And I wouldn't want to anyways, but that's a whole other topic of people who can hide it more versus others. And apparently in some of my videos, even if it's not about autism, there's people who are asking me if I'm autistic. So I guess that's also obvious even over video sometimes, and in real life I'll get the same thing where people meeting me for the first time, sometimes they'll ask me if I'm autistic, because I guess it's just that obvious. Even how people make content, what they talk about, how they go about it, seems to determine how comfortable people are and how many people are okay with watching that creator, following that creator. And I am aware that how I talk about certain things and the type of things that I talk about, that some people get very uncomfortable and don't like it, because although there are things with my health that I admittedly do sugarcoat online, and I don't share everything with my health. Like, there's stuff going on that I haven't mentioned on here that isn't good. When it comes to the illnesses as a whole or disability as a whole, I don't like to sugarcoat things so much. Editing me of the future, I do want to actually make a correction. Especially in the last year, I have adjusted my content more, and I have had to adjust things over time too. Not just with disability, but there's other things that I had already stopped talking about or don't talk about as much anymore that I used to, for the sake of my health, and it's unfortunate. But my myalgic encephalomyelitis is very sensitive to stress, and even when I wasn't as bad as I am now, that can result in things like low-grade fevers. My body can start shaking, sweating, migraines, blurry vision, cognitive issues, inability to leave bed even back when I wasn't bedridden so often, and just a whole bunch of other things. And this can last for days, and it can set me back. And then that can also affect my MCAS, and it's a whole thing, so I have to be careful. There's also some videos where admittedly I have had to temporarily put on friends only, because there's just some videos that get to the wrong crowd and it's just people absolutely trolling, and I just can't. I just can't. But there was one in particular that was so bad, and it's one of my most watched videos on TikTok. I didn't even post it elsewhere. That had to do with long COVID and wearing masks on things like public transport and stuff like that. And this person, according to my commenters, made a video about me, apparently, allegedly, thinking that my video was in a personal attack on her, even though I literally I've never heard of this person before, never seen their content before, have no idea who, never heard of them before, but somehow thought it was a personal attack on them. And supposedly my video didn't even meet the description of this person, so I don't even know why they took it as a personal attack. I don't know, and this is allegedly, I don't know. But then I started getting a whole bunch of people from her video coming to mine, and I know that because there was one who actually admitted to that, admitted to not even watching my video and just jumping to conclusions about my video and about me based on her video, and apologized after they actually watched my video. And long story short, currently my ME is in a place where I have to be very careful, and same with my MCAS, because I'm more sensitive than I was prior. Ever since my MCAS got worse, that has made my ME worse, it's made my dysautonomia worse. It's a whole thing. So I have to be careful with overexerting even more than I had to be prior, because my body responds a bit differently. And sometimes overexerting now means that my body suddenly starts having issues with remembering how to breathe and swallow. Even my own saliva. So, for my own safety, I have to be careful. And I do want to put it out here, everyone with ME is different. What's going to set them off is different. There are certain things that may be more common, but even for the same individual, things can change over time. There's going to be people who can tolerate this better than me, and there's things that I can tolerate better than them. I want to make a separate video about this, but for example, there's people who are in the same severity as me who could handle maybe this better than I can, but I might be able to handle, I don't know, I can't think of anything. I guess like my personal training appointments that I do from bed, I can handle that, whereas maybe some of these people, that's out of the question for them, even within the same severity. Hopefully this makes sense. Like I said, I want to make a totally separate video on that. Please let me know if you want to hear about that. Yeah. And there's also some content that I only post on TikTok. I don't post on Insta or YouTube, because in general, aside from a couple things like that here and there, my comment sections on TikTok, I overall have had less rude people over there. And when looking at my mutuals comments of their same videos, or even other people that I follow on multiple social media platforms, typically, I notice that people tend to be the nicest on TikTok lately, and the absolute most rude on Instagram. It's to the point where, for example, I had seen a video from someone I follow that was just them and their friends showing their outfit at a Renaissance fair, and the comments on TikTok just seemed nice and liking their outfits and stuff like that, whereas on Instagram some of the comments were straight up telling them that they deserve to be essayed. So for example, like I said earlier, even though I have never been in the very severe category of ME, I'm aware that that can affect anyone, and that a lot of people with ME who are in the very severe category rely on other people to advocate for them, because a lot of these people, like, they can't leave bed. A lot of people can't even handle talking, can't handle lights. Some people can't even handle music. Like, and some of these people, with what they can do, are asking those of us who can advocate for them to please do so. And there's also people who used to be very severe who aren't in the very severe category anymore and have improved, who again will say that, like, please continue to advocate for the people who can't. And seeing people having ME affect them in that sort of way really makes them on edge. They don't like it to see someone that unwell. Or even just the types of things that I talk about too, aside from that. Like, I've made posts in my stories about stuff like ugly laws. That's another thing people don't like hearing about, because it's more serious and it's not just, look at what I can do and I'm so inspiring with my disability. I try to post a variety of content, and some of my content isn't even about disability, but even within the stuff that's about disability, some stuff I do post that is more lighthearted and positive, but I don't only make posts that are positive. And even that, there's people that don't want to hear about it. Again, both in real life and online. It's to the point where there was, years ago, someone, I was telling them how I had found accommodations for myself to help me get out more back before my MCAS was worse, because I have been reacting to UV rays since I think the age of maybe 11 or 12, and it was continuously getting worse. And I was telling this person how I got the car windows tinted so I wasn't as in much pain as I was before. I started using a parasol. I started wearing UV protection clothing. I got Japanese and Korean sunscreen, which was working better for me. So I was able to be in less pain, get out more. But that person told me that I was being too negative, and to please not talk about it, because I'm not fun to be around when I'm talking about that, even though I quite literally was talking about something that was positive with my health and improvement. So some people just can't even handle that. Because, one, my health at that point in time overall was significantly better than it is now. But also, if someone can't even handle hearing someone's health improving or finding ways to get around easier and improve their life with their disability, I don't even know what to say about that. It made me feel pretty awful. I have also lost a friendship partially due to my physical health, even though I sugarcoated my health to this person, and there's a lot of things that I didn't even tell them about my health. But in part of their final message to me, part of why they said they couldn't handle being friends with me anymore is because they couldn't handle my health issues. And this person was also disabled, but some of their disabilities were different from mine. This person had also cut out another friend of mine that I'm still friends with, because this other person does not sugarcoat their disabilities. And this ex-friend couldn't handle that. I just wanted to specify that this person specifically was talking about me being immune compromised and high risk as to what they couldn't handle. Even though I'm the one that lives with it. And again, I sugarcoated things to them and didn't tell them everything that was going on with me, just to try to make sure that they would be more comfortable with what I live with. There's more to that, and in all honesty, I wasn't happy the last entire year of that friendship, but I didn't have it in me to cut things off myself. I don't need to go into that in this video, but hopefully these examples help make sense of things. If you have made it this far, I really appreciate it. If you want me to talk more on these topics, please let me know any specifics, and I will do my best to do that. Or if there's any sort of other videos that you want to see from me, please let me know, and I will do my best to do that. I don't always get everything out, but there are some things that have been requested to me before that sometimes it might take a little while, but I have gotten things out. Like, earlier this year, someone had requested that I make a video about my whole story with long COVID. It took a while, but I did get it out. Which was, I got that out a couple of months ago. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day, and goodbye.